The roar from center court still echoed through the corridors of the Edgbaston Priory Club. Outside, thousands of fans continued to celebrate. Philippine flags danced in the afternoon breeze. Chants of Laban Alex rolled across the grounds like waves crashing against a shoreline. Inside the players' area, however, there was silence. The kind of silence that only exists after a great performance. Alex Eala walked slowly down the corridor leading away from the court. A towel hung around her shoulders. Her racket bag rested against her back. Sweat still glistened on her forehead. Just minutes earlier, she had delivered one of the most commanding performances of her season. A straight sets victory. A statement victory. The type of match that forces people to stop asking whether you belong and start asking how far you can go. But Alex wasn't thinking about headlines. She wasn't thinking about rankings. She wasn't thinking about social media. She was thinking about recovery, preparation, and the next match. That was when she heard footsteps. At first, she barely noticed. Players, coaches, officials, and staff moved through these hallways all day long. Then the footsteps stopped. Alex looked up and froze. Walking toward her was one of the most respected figures in modern tennis. Not a commentator. Not a journalist. Not a tournament official. It was Andy Murray, the three-time Grand Slam champion, the former world number one, the man who spent more than a decade battling the greatest era tennis had ever seen, the man who refused to quit even when doctors told him his career might be over, the man whose determination had inspired an entire generation. For a moment, Alex wondered if she was imagining it. Murray wasn't scheduled to be there. He wasn't competing. He wasn't appearing on television. Yet there he was. Calm, relaxed, walking directly toward her. Alex immediately straightened her posture. Years earlier, she had met Murray briefly as a junior player. Back then, she had been a teenager carrying dreams bigger than her ranking. Today, she stood before him as one of the most talked-about players in the sport. Still, some instincts never disappear. She suddenly felt like that young girl again. Murray smiled. Alex. His voice was warm, friendly, genuine. That was some performance. Alex blinked. For a moment, she couldn't find the right words. Compliments from coaches were common. Compliments from fans happened every day. Compliments from Andy Murray? That was different. Thank you, she finally managed. It means a lot coming from you. Murray laughed. A soft laugh. The kind that instantly removed any tension. Please don't call me sir. Alex smiled. Sorry. You make me feel ancient. Both laughed. For a few moments they simply stood there. Two athletes from different generations, different backgrounds, different journeys, yet somehow connected by something neither of them needed to explain. Both knew what it felt like to be doubted. Both knew what it felt like to hear people predict failure. Both knew what it felt like to continue anyway. Murray understood criticism better than almost anyone. For years he had lived in the shadow of legends. Every achievement had been compared against impossible standards. Whenever he won, people talked about Federer. Whenever he improved, people discussed Nadal. Whenever he succeeded, Djokovic's name entered the conversation. No matter what he accomplished, somebody suggested it wasn't enough. And yet, he kept fighting. Again, and again, and again. Alex knew that feeling too. Different circumstances. Same emotion. Questions about whether she could maintain her ranking. Questions about whether she could handle pressure. Questions about whether the attention surrounding her was bigger than her results. Questions about whether she truly belonged among the sport's elite. She had heard every version of doubt imaginable. The criticism never completely disappeared. Neither did the determination. Murray looked at her for a moment. Then his expression changed. The smile remained. But there was something more serious behind it now. Something thoughtful. Something personal. He stepped closer. The hallway was nearly empty. No cameras. No microphones. No reporters. Just two competitors sharing a rare moment away from the spotlight. When Murray spoke again, his voice was quieter. You know what I like about your game? Alex waited. Murray shook his head. Actually, it's not your game. She looked surprised. It isn't. No. He smiled. It's your fight. The words landed harder than any compliment about a forehand or a serve. Because athletes hear technical praise all the time. What they rarely hear is recognition of who they are beneath the results. Murray continued. You remind me of someone. Alex waited. Who? Murray paused, then pointed gently toward himself. Me. For a second, she simply stared at him, not because she believed the comparison, but because she couldn't believe he was making it. Murray nodded. I'm serious. Not because we play the same way. Not because we have the same strengths. Not because we have the same career. He paused. It's because of how you respond when things get difficult. The hallway seemed quieter than ever. You don't disappear. You don't run. You don't make excuses. You fight. Alex felt emotion building unexpectedly. Murray continued. People see rankings. They see trophies. They see headlines. What they don't see is the work required to survive the hard days. The losses. The criticism. The pressure. The moments when everyone tells you something cannot be done. He looked directly into her eyes. And yet you keep showing up. For a moment, neither spoke. The noise from outside felt miles away. Only the words remained. Simple words. Honest words. The kind of words that stay with a person forever. Then Murray smiled again. And what happened next would become one of the most talked about moments of the tournament. Thousands of fans packed the grounds surrounding Edgbaston Priory Club, their voices rolling across the venue like waves crashing against a shoreline. Philippine flags fluttered in every direction. Security personnel moved briskly through crowded walkways. Journalists rushed from court to court chasing the next headline. But inside a narrow corridor connecting center court to the players' lounge, there was silence. For a few brief moments, the chaos of the Birmingham Open seemed very far away. Alex Eala walked slowly through the hallway, still carrying the adrenaline of victory. Sweat clung to her forehead. A towel rested across her shoulders. Only minutes earlier, she had delivered one of the most convincing performances of the tournament, dismantling her opponent in straight sets and reminding everyone why she had become one of the most talked-about players on the WTA Tour. The match had been brilliant, yet what happened afterward would become the story people remembered. As Eala rounded the corner, she heard footsteps approaching. At first, she paid little attention. Players, coaches, officials, and staff passed through these hallways constantly during tournaments. But something about the reaction of those nearby made her look up. People were staring. Some had stopped walking entirely. Then she saw him, Andy Murray, three-time Grand Slam champion, two-time Olympic gold medalist, former world number one, one of the most respected competitors tennis had ever produced. The Scottish legend was walking directly toward her. For a moment, Eala wondered if she was imagining it. She had met Murray years earlier during her junior career. Like countless young players, she had admired him from afar. She had watched him battle through injuries that would have ended most careers. She had watched him refuse to surrender when doctors questioned whether he would ever compete again. To Eala, Murray represented something larger than trophies. He represented resilience. Now he was standing only a few feet away. Alex, Murray said with a smile, extending his hand. That was some performance. Eala blinked. Then she shook his hand. Thank you, she replied. It means a lot coming from you. Murray laughed. Don't make me feel older than I already am. The tension broke instantly. Both smiled. For a few seconds, neither spoke. Yet beneath the surface, something deeper connected them. They came from different countries, different generations, different journeys. But they understood something few athletes truly understand. What it feels like to carry expectations. What it feels like to hear people doubt you. What it feels like to keep fighting anyway. Murray knew that feeling better than almost anyone. For years he had been told he would never match the greatness of Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, or Novak Djokovic. Too fragile. Too inconsistent. Too emotional. Too many weaknesses. The criticisms never stopped. Yet somehow he kept pushing, kept improving, kept proving people wrong. Eventually, he became a champion. Eala's journey carried familiar echoes. Questions about her ranking. Questions about her consistency. Questions about whether she belonged among the sports elite. Every achievement seemed to come attached to another doubt. And yet she kept moving forward, just like Murray once had. The British legend studied her for a moment. Then his expression changed. The smile faded. His voice became quieter, more serious. He stepped closer, close enough that nobody else could hear. What he said next would eventually spread throughout the tennis world. But in that moment, it belonged only to them. "You know something?" Murray said. "You remind me of myself." Eala froze. Not because she expected praise, but because she knew Murray didn't hand out compliments casually. He wasn't talking about forehands. He wasn't talking about rankings. He wasn't talking about statistics. He was talking about something far more important. "The fight," Murray continued. "The way people keep counting you out. The way you keep refusing to listen." Eala felt her throat tighten. Murray wasn't finished. "I've spent most of my career hearing reasons why I couldn't do something. Too slow. Too injured. Not talented enough. Not good enough." He shook his head. "I heard it all." Then he looked directly into her eyes. "And every single time, I used it as fuel." The corridor remained silent. No cameras. No microphones. No reporters. Just two athletes sharing a moment of understanding. "The thing I admire about you," Murray said, "is that when things get difficult, you don't disappear. You fight harder. That's rare." Eala didn't know what to say. The words hit harder than any compliment about her tennis, because they weren't about results. They were about character, about resilience, about identity. And coming from Andy Murray, they meant everything. For the first time all day, Alex Eala found herself speechless.